Greetings and a warm welcome to Quality Silent Films, where the ghostly light of early cinema illuminating the darkened hall transports us to worlds both imagined and remembered. Today, we journey back to 1914, a year when cinema was still finding its voice, and director Harold M. Shaw was crafting stories with clarity and subtle ingenuity. Shaw, celebrated for his early silent work on both sides of the Atlantic, presents a condensed yet powerful adaptation of Charles Dickens' beloved tale, A Christmas Carol. At the heart of this story, George Bellamy appears as Bob Cratchit, a figure of steadfast kindness, bringing decades of silent film experience to the role. Opposite him, Charles Rock embodies Ebenezer Scrooge, a man whose hardened heart faces the weight of his past and the possibility of redemption. 1914 was a year of stark contrasts. While the world teetered on the brink of the First World War, cinema blossomed with innovation, from the emergence of early Charlie Chaplin films to growing experimentation with visual storytelling. Amid such turbulence, this quiet British adaptation offered audiences a space to reflect on human frailty, generosity, and the passage of time, reminding viewers that even in uncertain moments, stories could illuminate the heart. The film itself conveys its story with a visual poetry unique to silent cinema. Scrooge's isolation and ambition are revealed in every glance, gesture, and shadow, while the spirits of Christmas, past, present, and yet to come, cast an ethereal light across his journey. The narrative confronts universal questions. Can a life defined by pride and greed transform before it is too late? Can compassion and connection break through the walls of loneliness? Its themes remain strikingly relevant today. The power of empathy, the importance of self-reflection, and the ripple of small acts of kindness speak as strongly now as they did over a century ago. In a world often marked by indifference, this story reminds us that redemption is possible, and that the choices we make can leave lasting impacts beyond our immediate sight. Stay with us after the film to explore the cast, their careers, Shaw's inventive production techniques, and the historical backdrop that shaped this cinematic classic. Discover how silent actors conveyed entire emotional landscapes without words, and how this short but memorable adaptation paved the way for future versions of Dickens' classic. So let the shadows and ghostly light guide you in. Experience the craftsmanship of early cinema, where every glance and movement carries meaning. Enjoy this journey into the 1914 vision of A Christmas Carol, a film that, even after more than a century, still whispers lessons of generosity, reflection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. As the final frame fades and the silent echoes of footsteps and phantom whispers linger, we are left with a quiet sense of reflection, like distant chimes in a frosted hall reminding us of warmth, regret, and change. The 1914 A Christmas Carol leaves a gentle imprint, like morning light on frost-touched glass, stirring both the heart and the mind with its meditative pacing and the soulful ache of its central journey. The mood is at once somber and uplifted, a tapestry woven from shadows and hope. What remains with us is not just a century-old narrative, but a reminder that even the coldest heart can thaw, and that compassion need not depend on grand gestures but small, steadfast choices. At its helm, director Harold M. Shaw was born in Brownsville, Tennessee and became a prolific silent-era filmmaker whose career spanned over 125 films as a director, actor, and writer. Shaw worked at Edison Studios in New York before moving to England as chief producer for the London Film Company, where he crafted adaptations with striking clarity and emotional subtlety. In 1916 he ventured into South African filmmaking and later returned to direct in the United States. Shaw died in a Los Angeles car accident in 1926 while serving as secretary of the Motion Picture Directors Association. George Bellamy, who portrays Bob Cratchit, was an English actor from Bristol who brought a lifetime of stage experience into cinema. Between 1911 and 1933, he appeared in roughly 70 films and even directed a few, known for his grounded performances and ability to convey depth without spoken word. Charles Rock, cast as Ebenezer Scrooge, was a seasoned British stage and film actor whose commanding presence gave weight to the miser's transformation. Though detailed records of his life are less widely documented today, his portrayal here remains a notable part of his contribution to early British cinema. Edna Flugrath, playing Belle, came from a remarkable acting family and was the eldest of three sisters who each found success in silent film. Born in Brooklyn, she began in vaudeville before moving to motion pictures with Edison Studios and later followed Shaw to England, where they married. After acting through the late silent era, she eventually left the screen, later opening a beauty salon in Hollywood. Among the supporting players, Mary Brough performed on stage from the 1880s and later appeared in both silent films and early talkies, becoming known for her roles in comedy farces and parts written especially for her. Wyndham Guise had a long stage background in Edwardian musical comedies before transitioning to film, where he acted steadily in the 1910s and 1920s. Franklin Bellamy, Arthur M. Cullen, H. Ashton Tonge, and Edward O'Neill each contributed memorable performances, relying on gesture and presence over dialogue, and for some, this marked one of their most visible cinematic engagements. This adaptation stood out for depicting all three spirits of Christmas at a time when many earlier films omitted or simplified parts of the story. Shaw's use of superimposed imagery and thoughtful staging gave the ghostly visitations a sense of otherworldliness, elevating what could have been static tableaus into sequences that remain poetic. Its release during the outbreak of World War I added resonance, as audiences could reflect on human frailty, generosity, and change amidst uncertain times. Contemporary reception was modest, with few major reviews, but later scholars have noted it as one of the more complete early screen adaptations, praising Shaw's restrained direction and convincing portrayals. The film survives in archives, allowing modern viewers to study and appreciate its artistry decades later. Some fascinating aspects include Shaw casting his wife in a key role, the effectiveness of ghostly imagery despite technological limits, and the global fascination with Dickens' adaptations in that period. Silent actors conveyed complex emotional arcs without dialogue, and the film's visual choices influenced later versions of the story. Today, the story's core themes, redemption, compassion, and self-reflection, remain meaningful. In a world of constant distraction, A Christmas Carol invites us to pause, consider our priorities, and see how our actions affect others. Even the hardest hearts can soften, and sometimes the greatest plot twist is simply choosing kindness. Thank you for joining this exploration with Quality Silent Films. I hope this look deepened your appreciation of early cinema, and I encourage you to return for more stories where silent films are brought to life with biographies, cultural insights, and historical context. May your own season be filled with warmth, curiosity, and a touch of holiday mischief. After all, who hasn't wished for a ghost to teach them a life lesson or two?